Working Women During World War II. Written and narrated by Emily Halsey. Before the outbreak of World War II, women's primary role was that of a housewife and mother. The American workforce consisted mostly of men. On December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked and the United States declared war on Japan. As droves of men volunteered for the armed forces, women's roles in society would drastically change. Social and political leaders sought to change men and women's opinions on gender roles in the workforce, while there was a national emergency. The Office of War Information started to encourage women to go to work through advertisements in movies and magazines. One of the most famous images of the wartime effort was Rosie the Riveter. She depicted the perfect combination of what a woman worker should be: loyal, strong, patriotic, and attractive. With 15 million men fighting overseas, women made up more than one-third of the civilian labor force. That labor force included many manufacturing jobs such as textile mills, clothing industries, and food preparation. With the help of women workers, total industrial production doubled from 1939 to 1945. Women also found work in munitions and shipyards. The munition plants were dangerous and were prone to accidental explosions. Overall, the military production was overwhelming with 30,000 aircrafts, 12,000 ships, 86,000 tanks, and 64,000 landing crafts. The majority of women worked 6 days a week and only enjoyed a handful of holidays. They were highly encouraged to take overtime so the assembly lines kept operating. When the war began, Congress authorized women to serve in the U.S. Army, Navy, and Coast Guard. Women serving in the military forces mostly had auxiliary jobs. More than 400,000 women served during the war, filling administration and clerical jobs in the beginning. But as the war continued, women were serving practically in every occupation except direct combat. Women also played an important role as volunteers for the USO. They provided comfort items and recreational activities in the United States and abroad. On each USO tour, the volunteers brought a little piece of home to the troops. The Army Nurse Corps served the military throughout the world, treating the wounded onshore and aboard hospital ships. Nurses knew there was a possibility of being sent into combat zones. The work was very exhausting and the living conditions were difficult. But at the end of the war, the number of Army nurses had grown to 59,000 and Navy nurses to 11,000. When the war ended, many women lost their jobs to the men returning home. As the baby boomer era emerged, women were expected to return to their pre-war roles as housewives and mothers, while the men went back to work. With men coming home from the war, many expected the way of American life to be the same as before the war. Although many women reclaimed their former roles as caretakers, some women gained a sense of independence and continued to pursue education and careers. One thing is for certain, the contribution that women made during the war was essential. These women helped pave the way for women in the future by showing society they are just as capable to participate in the workforce as men are.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter, keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage. Sitting up there on the fuselage, that little frail can do more than a male can do. Rosie, the riveter. Rosie's got a boyfriend, Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie is protecting Charlie, working over.